had this conversation with a girl in New York last week. I was at a shoot, a client, like a brand shoot, and she sat me down to interview me for TikTok. And she said, she goes, "Oh, what age did you become a millionaire?" And I said, about 24, 25. And she went, "Oh, I'm 24, 25 now, and I'm not a millionaire." And I remember saying to her, I was like, "Yeah, but would you take my trade?"
Right.
And I explained to her, I was like, so I was lonely between the age of 18 and roughly 20. I was working in call centers. My parents wouldn't speak to me, so I had no contact with my family really through that period. And then I started shoplifting at about 18, 19 to feed myself. And my brother had given me this big sort of industrial packet of oats. And what I had to do is, it's like powder. I mix the powder with water, and there's a photo online, I think from my previous TED Talk, my first one, where I was just drinking this powdered water. So I said to her, I said, and I was a millionaire at 24, lonely, not speaking to my family, drinking powdered oats, shoplifting, working night shifts in multiple call centers.
Right.
Would you take the trade?
Right.
And she went, no.
Right.
She went, absolutely not. She wouldn't take the trade. And I said, so you can't pick it apart, because if you want my outcome, you have to take the path that I took if you want my specific outcome. And people don't think about that. Like, one of the things this podcast has actually taught me is to think through the framework of trade-offs.
Yeah.
So think about everything as a trade-off. Think of Ozempic as a trade-off. There's a trade you're making somewhere. And even, when you admire people, if you admire what we've done here, for example, think about the trade-off. Like, even with this team, the team have been working here every single day, including the weekends, from morning till night, for the last 14 days here in New York, every single day.
Right.
Do you want a podcast? Like,
Right.
do you want the trade? And if you do, fine, but just be informed about, as you say, both sides of the trade.
Another Jimmy Carr quote that I love. He's a profound individual. Not only is he hilarious, he's very smart. The quote is, "Everyone is jealous of what you've got. Nobody's jealous of how you got it."
Yeah.
And I think it's just so easy to overlook. One of the things I write in the book is what's called the reverse obituary, which is, it's a very good, helpful exercise to write down. It's kind of morbid, but what do you want your obituary to say? Kind of a weird thing, but for me, everyone's different. But for me, I would want it to say, Morgan was a good father, a good husband, a good friend, helped his community, was a good worker. That's what I would want it to say. Never in a million years in that obituary would I want it to say what my income was, how big my house was, how many times I went on vacation, how many horsepower my car had. Like, it's ridiculous to think that that's what it would be. I would want it. You instantly drift towards the things that you actually want in life. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but I found it a helpful thing, because you realize that it would be completely absurd to put the things that I might be chasing in my life in my obituary. And so if in any given day, in any given year, you're like, I got to earn a higher income and I want to buy a bigger house, and I got to need a new car, and do you see they came out with this watch? But at the end of your life, that's not going to matter. What's going to matter is, were you a good spouse, a good parent, a good worker? Were you honest? Were you a good friend? Were you funny? That's it. That's what's going to matter, because that's what you want in your obituary.
I think part of the reason people spend in the way that they do as well is linked to that, which is sometimes that behavior, which is also linked to the point about trauma at the start, might result in a savings addiction. I often wonder this, because, when I was younger, I had this crazy spending problem. And I've also seen people who don't seem to spend anything, and they're just like hoarding capital. You talk about this a bit in the book. Like, what is that equally bad behavior?
Yeah, I think it's equally bad, because both of them are the exact same thing, which is money's controlling you. Money should be a tool that you use to become a better version of yourself, to become a happier, more content version of yourself. But when it's controlling your personality, it's no different than like any other addiction, where it's forcing you to do things that you otherwise don't want to do. And that can manifest on either end of the side. Either people can't stop spending, or they cannot spend enough. A lot of financial advisors will tell you one of the biggest problems that they have are clients who have saved enough money for retirement. Good job. You saved for 40 years. You maxed out your 401k. You did everything you were supposed to. And now you're 70 years old and you have enough money to travel and play golf, and you won't. You won't do it. And I think it's because they become so accustomed to the identity of, I'm a saver. Every month I save, and every month my net worth goes up. And they cannot bring themselves into switching gears and going in the other direction. And for a lot of those people, the money is in full control over their identity. It's telling them how to live, what to like, what to aspire to, what to enjoy. The money is totally in control of their personality. And it's just as dangerous and just as detrimental as you when you were a teenager of, I can't stop spending. And both of those the money is like playing the marionette doll of your life. It's telling you exactly what to do and when to do it.
If I wanted to make a framework to know how to spend my money, where do I start? Do I have to get clear on something? And I guess the other question, which is somewhat linked to this, is this overarching debate around, can money make you happy?
Right.
But I'm trying to figure out, like, where do I start? Because one of the things I want to get out of today is I want to have a clearer framework for how to spend my money.
Well, those 2 points that you just brought up, I think, are very related. The first, on the point of, can money make you happier? The answer is yes, but there's an asterisk next to it that we need to get to. For years, there was a big academic debate of, does more money make you happy? Some of the studies showed yes, clearly it does. Studies showed no, it really doesn't. And the academics, the economists were like battling for decades. It's kind of been cleared up in the last couple of years, this last couple of decades, with some nuance, which is this. If you are already an unhappy person, if you're already anxious, if you're already depressed, by and large, having more money will not help you, at least that much. It might help you a little bit around the margins. If you start as an unhappy, depressed, anxious person. If you are already a happy, content, joyful, laughing person, having more money will give you a better life. So in either direction, it's just leveraging who you already were. It's not going to change you that much. It's just going to leverage who you already were. Very similar to, like, they say this about power. Like, once you gain power in politics or something, it just leverages the personality that you already had. Money is very much like that. And so it's not a panacea in the sense of, like, oh, like, if you're miserable, like, if you had more money, it's going to clear up your problems. It can make some of your problems a little bit easier to deal with. But I mean, think about it in these stark terms. Let's say you are overweight and unhappy. You hate your job and you're recently divorced and your kids won't talk to you, but you live in a mansion that has a Ferrari in the driveway and you got all kinds of fancy stuff. Is that a good life? If everything else in your life sucked and you woke up every morning going, oh, I got to go to work today. I hate my job. I can't stand my job. I'm lonely. I'm miserable. I'm overweight. I can't sleep. I'm addicted to alcohol, whatever it might be. Of course, it's a terrible life. The house and the car don't matter at all. But you can flip that around and say, like, let's say you live in a very modest middle-class house and you drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic, but you love your job. You love your coworkers. You have a great relationship with your spouse. Your kids admire you. You have your friends over for a barbecue every Friday night. Materially, it's very modest. You have what you need. You're not impoverished. You're not homeless. You have the food that you want, the shelter that you want, but you would be an absolute maniac to choose the miserable person in the mansion versus the content, happy person in the middle-class house. If your goal is to live a good life, it's psychotic to pick one over the other.
I felt this quite starkly recently because I flew to Cape Town on my own. I've only ever been there with my girlfriend and with other friends. And the first time I've only been there a few times. I've got a house there and it's a very big house. And the first time I came was with my family. Second time it's with my girlfriend and my friends. This time I came on my own. Yeah. And I felt this deep existential feeling waking up, walking through that house alone, thinking, fuck me. Like, it was so clear to me that the point of such a thing is to fill it with people. And you say,
that's what I make this point in the book of, like, the very simple question, will a big house make you happier?
I think it will make you depressed if it's empty.
Yes.
Because that's how I felt. I was like, I'd rather be in a studio apartment alone than a big house on my own.
Right. I had a similar realization to you a couple of years ago when I took my family and I went to Maui for a vacation. And I love Maui. It's my favorite place in the world. And now I have kids. So I'm building sandcastles with my kids on the beach in Maui. And that, I remember thinking, like, this is a 10 out of 10. This is peak life for me. Building sandcastles with my kids. Everyone's happy in the sun. But then I had this realization of, like, if that's a 10, playing with Legos at home on the living room floor with my kids is like a 9. Like, it's really close. Because the realization was what I enjoy is, like, quality time with my kids.